Hi folks, welcome to this week's edition of Inside Track, the Scottish Sun. As always, I've got Jim Delahunt here with me. Jim, we spent last weekend talking about the Go North Series finals, how difficult it was almost impossible. It certainly wasn't a few years back, Lucinda Russell on the Friday and Saturday. 5 winners over the 2 days. Quite incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I'd have to say I really enjoyed it, Robert. The Musselburgh, Kelso, and then Carlisle on the Sunday. I thought the quality for the grade of racing was very good. I thought we had some good finishes. I thought the right horses won quite a few of the races. One or two surprises, of course. One or two not controversial moments, but slightly iffy moments. I was slightly taken aback by the fact that Nicky Henderson could send up one to win a race at Musselburgh. Totally legitimately, totally within the rules. But then you start thinking, was that really what this series was made for one of Nicky's poorer horses to come up and win a race? Can you stop that happening by making it geographical in terms of the trainer qualifications? I don't think you can. So maybe we just have to accept that some of the bigger trainers are going to take advantage and nick one or two of these prizes. But on the whole, I think the right horses, the right trainers, and the right owners managed to get their hands on the right amount of prize money.
Yeah, and certainly the Russell stable kept a lot of the prize money up here. I mean, this is turning into a bit of a powerhouse stable up here now, isn't it? I
Yeah, it
mean,
really is.
they had the 5 winners. They're on track for £1 million prize money for the third year in a row. I mean, 71 winners they've got now. Do you think it's realistic that they could maybe get to 100 winners? Not this season, but in future seasons, which really would be an incredible thing to happen up here.
It really would be amazing, Robert, and I think they're capable. I mean, at any time of day, you probably, if you did a head count of the horses around that Lucinda Russell yard and the satellite yards, you're probably pushing well over 200. Not all of them in training at the same time, of course, but they have the ammunition, they have the owners behind them. They certainly have the race planning. They managed to pick out a lot of correct races for the right horses. It's certainly not beyond them. Whether the motivation is there to do it, I'm not quite sure. I haven't heard, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't heard either Lucinda or Peter Scudamore say that that's a target. But if it was to become a target, they're perfectly capable of doing it. They certainly have the owners, they have the horses, and the way they plan out the races, they can certainly get the numbers in the bag. What do you think?
I think they'd have to focus a bit more on Perth in the summer. I mean,
Yeah,
they've kind of tailed off from that a wee bit. They only had 2 winners in what you would term the main summer season last year. Obviously, you take out the April meeting, you take out the September meeting, which really
yeah,
bookends the jump season proper. They only had 2 winners. If they were to go down the road of maybe what a Skelton or Ollie Murphy does and buy a team of summer horses, you see
yeah.
Skelton will buy horses at Doncaster sales and
Mhm.
then run them 5 or 6 times through the summer, get a few wins out of them, and then move them on at when the winter horses come in. If they were maybe take that approach and rack up 10 or 15 at Perth, Cartmel, places like that during the summer, it's certainly doable because they're hitting 70 odd a season consistently now through the winter. So it's definitely doable. I mean, Keith Dalglish did it in the flat in
Yeah.
2017, the first ever flat trainer or first ever trainer in total to get 100 winners based in Scotland. Now, to do it over jumps would be an incredible achievement. And I just wonder, they beat Lenny Lungo's record in 2014, I think it was.
Yeah.
Now, they're beating their own record every year. It's consistently ticking up. I just wonder if this 100 winners might be something that they do focus on in future.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Perth in the summer because it wasn't that long ago, Robert, and I used to see you there as well. So you'll probably remember that the champion conditional jockey at the moment, Patrick Wadge, who's riding out of his skin. He used to be cantering round Perth every summer, ride after ride after ride, couldn't ride a winner. I think he went about 70 before he actually managed to get one on the board. So that's just another example of the jockeys that they're turning out at that stable as well. And Derek Fox sadly injured at the moment, but Patrick Wadge is a really terrific stand-in, and he's obviously going to have some interesting mounts at Liverpool next week.
Yeah, we've obviously got the Grand National meeting next week. Jim, you and I will be doing a show looking forward to all
Yep.
3 days in the middle of next week. But it's actually the start of the flat this weekend at Doncaster. Now, this show's been jumps focused ever since we started it back in November. This is the first time we're having a look at the flat. Are you looking forward to it? And what have you dug out at Doncaster this weekend?
I really am looking forward to it. I enjoy this day immensely. I mean, I keep a very close eye on the all weather over the winter, as you know. And on Thursday night there, we managed to get an 8.5 to 1 winning nap at Chelmsford, thanks to a Charlie Johnson filly, which incidentally was owned by Alan Brazil, Glenn Hoddle, and Ozzy Ardiles, or part-owned by them anyway, so well done them. Lady Chartwell, you wouldn't be surprised to learn, was a Churchill filly, and she won the first time out this season on her handicap debut, so well done there. But I have to turn the brain onto the turf, and it is different racing, there's no doubt about it, and traditionally, as ever, we get underway with the Brocklesby Stakes for unraced 2-year-olds on Saturday, which unless you've heard a word about anything, then I'm going to skip straight over that and get on to the Spring Mile Handicap, which of course is the consolation race for the Lincoln, which we'll come to later on. So it's run over the exact same course and distance. We have a 22 runner field, as you might expect this early in the season, when everybody wants to get their horses out and get them a run. Quite a few of them have been running on the all-weather, so we know that the fitness guaranteed there. And one or two of them worth a mention. I know you've got one to mention in a second, but I'll just throw in Nay Point for Edward Bethel, Ed Bethel. Kevin Stott coming back from a stint abroad to ride that one. Won over course and distance off a mark of 74 last summer, up to 88 now. I just wonder if the handicapper might have a hold of that one. But Nay Point is going for a hat-trick. Will have supporters. Tolstoy, Brian Ellison, I thought they might claim off him, but they've decided not to. Ben Robinson's going to be in the saddle on that. I think that could be there or thereabouts. But the one down the bottom that I like is number 21. If I'm honest with you, Robert, I didn't think it would get in the race, but it has sneaked in at the bottom and they've decided to run Mick and David Easterby, Joanna Mason in the saddle. The cheek pieces, the furry sideburns are on for the first time on Spirit of Acclam, rated 80, which is how he finished last season. A bit disappointing in an all-weather handicap at Southall in November, has been gelded since then. He was a massive eye-catcher at Ayr before that, and I really did think he was going to go on and win a decent race. That was at 1.25 miles. He drops back to 1 mile. I don't think that will be any problem, because this will be a cavalry charge from the gates. It'll probably feel like a 9-furlong race. So Spirit of Acclam each way for me. I think he's very well handicapped indeed. I think Joanna Mason is an absolutely terrific jockey. Remember, she was an amateur rider turned apprentice, and she's now a fully fledged jockey in her own right. I think the Easterby Yard could go very, very close here with Spirit of Acclam each way. And of course, Mick's name is still on the licence, of course. I think he's in his 90s now, Mick Easterby. And it was way back in 1977 that he trained a classic winner with Mrs. McCarty in the 1,000 guineas. And he's still going strong, although his son David is doing most of the work these days. So Spirit of Acclam each way for me.
I thought Ocean of Dreams was quite an interesting recruit for Archie Watson, ridden by Holly Doyle. Won a maiden at Leopardstown, 2-year-old maiden at Leopardstown, and went off 72 for the Ballysacks, a grade 3 the next time. Finished lame. Ran a decent enough race at Goran Park a couple of months later. Since been moved to Archie Watson. He's been off for 299 days, so got a long break to contend with. But they've gelded him, given a wind operation. I just thought he was an interesting recruit for this kind of grade for Archie Watson. So I'll be keeping a close eye on Ocean of Dreams.
Okay, well, I think we'll get two running for us there, Ocean of Dreams and Spirit of Acclam. And just a final word on Mick Easterby. Robert, I was presenting one day at Hamilton Park and I was bringing the winner in and somebody handed me a mobile phone and it was Mick. And all he said was, "Tell them it's for sale." So that's exactly how he works. We'll move on to the Camage Trophy, which is run over 6 furlongs at 225. And I think we both agree that if Marshman manages to transfer his all-weather form here, he's got a really good chance.
Yeah, I would say so. I would agree with that on Marshman.
The one I was going to mention here was Sophia Starlight, which runs in the same colours, trained by Grant Tour, but runs in the same colours. And I looked at the prices last night, and this one was 50 to 1. And I think that could outrun those odds and might be worth just a very, very small bet each way at those odds. But Marshman, I think, could be good enough to win the Camage. The Doncaster Mile, I'm very much in the camp of Liberty Lane here for Carol Burke and Clifford Lee. I know you like Botanical up at the top there, same ownership again. But Liberty Lane, I think if that one comes here fit and well, and I think it will, the vibes have been very good from the Carol Burke yard, then that might win this one. But Botanical interests you?
Yeah, I watched this race at Goodwood September back, and I thought Clifford Lee thought all the danger was on his inside and kept looking in the inside when he was travelling really well and didn't notice Novus coming on his outside. And I mean, he got back up alongside him. They bumped each other. It was actually a wee bit of a surprise that Novus kept that race because he banged into him a few times. And I just think a return to better ground. He's another one that's had a wind operation over the winter. I thought a return to better ground might help him. They were 7 lengths back to the third that day. So we've had a few 1-2s over the jumps over the course of the season. So maybe get the 1-2 here in the Shaker Bay ownership. Plus the stable's in very good form as well.
It really is, and if we get the 1-2 in the Lincoln, Robert, we're doing really well. It's a huge test for punters, never mind horses, jockeys, and trainers. But I'm very, very keen on one here, and that's last year's runner-up Latam, which is trained by Julie Camacho, who, of course, had a very good year 2 years ago. She won the Air Gold Cup with significantly. She had that terrific sprinter, Grade 1 sprinter, Shaquille, which Group 1, I should say. I'm still thinking jumps. Group 1 sprinter Shaquille won the Commonwealth Cup and the July Cup. She knows how to train a good horse. I think she's got a decent one here, Latam. It used to be trained by Willie Haggis, got some very good back form for Willie. But when this horse ran for Julie last year, Robert, it was his first run under her care. Finished second. I thought a little bit unlucky. Ryan Sexton just ran into a pocket at exactly the wrong time of the race. By the time he got out, the winner, Mr. Professor, had flown. Mr. Professor is back, looking to win it again under David Egan. Latam, my selection, is £2 better off. It's not a massive amount, but I think it might be enough. And I think just listening to Julie being interviewed by Tomo the other day, I thought she was giving the impression that Latam is probably a better horse this year. My own thinking is that she will understand the horse better this year. And I think from stall 12, Ryan Sexton can go wherever he likes in a 22-runner field. He'll know where the pace is. He'll be able to follow the pace wherever it is. And Latam is going to be my nap selection on Saturday. What about you?
I've just had a look at the race, and the William Haggis horse stood out. I mean, he's won the race 4 times in the past. He's only runner on the card as well, which I thought was quite notable. He was only beat half a length in his seasonal debut a couple of years ago, so maybe first time up was the time to catch him, because he won at Newbury seasonal debut last time. So he's had a break. So I think maybe catching him first time up might be the time, and just the Haggis factor in this race because he's got such a good record.
Yeah, he really has. The other one I was going to mention, and much as I respect Godwinson and much as I respect the Haggis team, the other one I was going to mention was Orande for Tony Martin, who of course has his licence back after that spell on the sidelines. He's booked Rossa Ryan for this one. I thought it won really, really well in the Irish, what the Irish call it, the Lincolnshire Handicap, the Irish Lincolnshire Handicap. That was just a couple of weeks ago, 13 days ago. Orande has a £5 penalty for that. I'm not sure that race was as good as it could have been. And interestingly, Shane Foley goes to the Curragh. He doesn't come over to ride in the Lincoln for Tony Martin, although I have to say that he has been retained by Jesse Harrington to ride a couple of horses at the Curragh, so maybe he didn't have the choice, Robert. But Orande, I think, will be there or thereabouts. There'll certainly be plenty of money for it, I would imagine. I just don't think that Irish Lincolnshire was as good as it was cracked up to be, and I'm very happy to stick with Latam in that race. I was going to look at Kempton, a really big all-weather meeting at Kempton, but the one I fancied in the Rosebery is a non-runner, so I'm not going to bother with that. But you've had a look at the Uttoxeter card.
Yeah, we've got jumping at Stratford and Uttoxeter. It's pretty low-grade stuff, but I had a look at Uttoxeter and the 4:30 Confusion for one of my favourite stables, the Sue Smith and Joe Parkinson stable. Now, he's got Former Heads or Harps, which is a horse that we put up a few weeks ago that won really, really well at Ayr. He beat him at Weatherby about a month ago, and he's run since at Hexham. Made a few mistakes at Hexham, but he steps up to 3 miles here. He stayed 2 miles 7 at Market Raising last summer on good ground, so this should be fine. And it was the Danny McMenamin jockey booking that really caught my eye. Danny McMenamin's ridden for this stable at a 55% strike rate this year. So everything that he rides for the stable is definitely worth a second look. So if you add in the Former Heads or Harps, the Danny McMenamin factor, and the step up to 3 miles, I thought Confusion's well worth a second look at Uttoxeter.
And those Parkinson Smith horses, Robert, they seem to be just holding their form.
Yeah, which is different to normal years. I mean, usually we made a big thing of it back in the start of December, where they come alive December, January, and kind of tail off again. But they really have held their form this year. Now, with the ground getting better, we might see some of their softer ground horses tailing off a bit. But this one should handle good ground, no bother. As I said, it ran well at Market Raising on good ground last summer, so the ground doesn't hold any fears for me.
Okay, now just before we finish, how much are you looking forward to entry in the Grand National next Saturday?
Oh, very much so. I mean, the Grand National will be a fascinating race. I mean, well, we're going to talk about it at the start, but Mr. Incredible, will he get a run? I mean, there's all this controversy about, is he going to start? Will the BHA let him start? Have you got a take on that? Do you think he should be allowed in the race? I mean, he's qualified in terms of his handicap mark. We know he's a bit of a monkey. What do you think?
there's some old saying about offending people's horses that I can't remember, so I'm not going to offend anybody's horse. But Mr. Incredible is maybe one that I personally would tend to avoid. I wouldn't use the word or the words that can be used for horses like him. I suspect that one way or another, Robert, he will not run next weekend. He arrived from the Willie Mullinger to Sandy Thomson's with a bit of a reputation. I'm not sure he's cleared that reputation up. So I'd be very, very surprised if he was to line up at Aintree. But I'll tell you, we're looking forward to this programme we're going to do next week. Looking forward to the whole meeting, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Aintree. And on Saturday in my diary column, I am going to nail my colours to the mast 6 days before the race as to what I think is going to win the Grand National. So have a wee look out for that.
Thanks very much, folks. Join us next week for our Rain Tea special. Good luck with your bets this weekend. Cheers.